Okay, my friends, get ready for this. Another shocker du jour. They just keep coming. I got something about the Welsh land of the dragons. And, you know, I'm into dragons. And I've shown them, they're there. There's no question whatsoever that they were real. And when were they here? And what's the story about the Welsh dragons? Because then what it said was they found some little scraps of bones and a little tiny footprint or something. And they say, oh, now we understand. Because they've never found anything to do with dragons or even dinosaurs in Wales. But this is, wait till you see all the things about the Welsh dragon. It's just stunning how much information they have about that. Now, I go into all the ancient texts and the mythologies and so forth, and there's a lot written. I mean, there's a ton of stuff written about the ancient mythologies that people just haven't paid attention to, but it's documented. And like there's an encyclopedia here called the New LaRoche Encyclopedia of Mythology, and this puppy has got some serious information. I don't use it very often, to be perfectly honest with you, but if there's something that I just can't find it, normally you can find it inside here. Anyway, we're trying to write new books. We're trying to get things changed so that we can understand our true past. And dragons are in that. Now, wait till you see. I'm just going to scroll through these real quick. Let me come in a little closer on this. Hold on. Now, don't forget, they've never found anything, not even a dinosaur-looking thing in Wales. But look at this. This is their national flag. Now, I'm going to scroll through some. This is all about Wales and the Welsh dragons. Draco standard of the Nhyrrybr. All dragons. There was a red dragon and a white dragon supposed to be battling under this castle. Did you see that last one there? Dragon. There's another look at it. This dragon on his crest. Dragon. They're obsessed with him. Obsessed. Totally obsessed. And that's the national flag. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Look at that, huh? Isn't that something? There's the white dragon battling the red dragon underneath in this stone enclosure. Apparently, this is what was written. I mean, they are obsessed with the dragon. So why have they never found anything to do with dragons? Okay, my friends, this gets curiouser and curiouser. I was looking up the Welsh dragon because I got something about the Welsh dragon. They've never found anything about dragons whatsoever in Wales, and this is their national symbol, and there's all kinds of stories about it, and they've never even found anything to do with dinosaurs, because they're saying it must have been a dinosaur, it couldn't have been a dragon, because this doesn't go that far back. And all of these personifications of their great heroes were all dragons. Let me read this little clip to you, and then we're going to do some investigation about dragons. If you've been with me at all for the last 10 years, I've been talking about dragons. They're all over the place, and they were real, no question about it. What's the story with the red dragon? Let's find out. Okay, my friends, it's about the dragons, and this is the Welsh dragon, and they claim that the ancient leaders of these Britons, these Celtic Britons, were personified as dragons. All these were dragons. And they say personified. I think they were actually dragons. Now, the red dragon appears in ancient stories of Lud and Lucifer, where it was confined, battling with an invading white dragon at Dinas Emrys. The story continues in the Historia Britannium, written about AD 829, where Guthrum, king of the Britons, is frustrated and attempts to build a fort in Dinas Emrys. He is told by a boy to dig up two dragons fighting beneath the castle. He discovers the white dragon representing the Anglo-Saxons, which is soon to be defeated by the red dragons of Wales. The red dragon of Wales. The red dragon is now seen as symbolizing Wales, present on the current national flag of Wales, which became an official flag in 1959. And they are just saturated with dragons in Wales. Okay, my friends, this is going to be fun. Did you know that Wales was called the land of the dragon? The Welsh dragon? That red one, and they're all flared back like that. But they've never found anything like that in Wales. So now they have just found some footprints and some little scraps and things, and boy, they're all excited. It's finally been solved. It was dinosaurs. Well, let's talk about what they say and what dragons could possibly have been. Because I'm not sure they realize how big dragons actually were. Alright, this is what they consider to be really important fossil information. A significant fossil discovery illuminated the history of dinosaurs in Wales. Until recently, the land of the dragon didn't have any dinosaurs. They never found any. However, in the last 10 years, several dinosaurs have been reported, but their life conditions were not well known. In a new study by a team from the University of Bristol and published in Proceeding of Geologists Association, important details have been revealed for the first time. They got little scraps, and one of them is just one single bone from something that they claim was there. And they're just little tiny dinosaurs. Those things were literally, and I'm not kidding you, they were parasites. Literally parasites. From the things that I'm talking about that are dragons. I'll just show you again. I've shown it 100 times, 1,000 times maybe. Okay, when I say they were parasites, I am not kidding you. The largest dinosaurs there are, these giant dragons wouldn't even have known they were alive. This all the way from here to there is a dragon. And this is Typhon in the desert. Now I'm going to show you him outlined. If you haven't seen him before, it's hard for you to make him out until you see him outlined. Now here he is with his red flared eye. This is his throat, comes all the way down. All this is just runoff of the fluids that are eroding from him. And this is from his spitting out to try to attack something. I'll show you that in a second too. But this is what he looks like. Now, drawn over the top of him, he looks like this. All right, there's his flared, flashy feathers or whatever he had, scales. And here's the scales on his throat. And there's his red flared eye. Now, let's look at him on Google Earth. All right, let's turn this so that he's flat. Boom, here we go. There's his nose. There's his red flared eye. This flashy looking stuff runs all the way down. All the way down, all the way down, all the way down. And this is his throat. Runs all the way down, all the way down, all the way down. And it got cut right there. And I'm going to show you something that's going to show you. Everybody knew this in the past. Now, here's his head. All right, there's his head. There's his red flared eye. And it's exactly what they say in Apollodorus. He had a red flashing eye. These are his beards right here. And this one here is what's spitting out this toxin. This is a nasty, nasty toxin. You see this? This is not your normal average desert. And I have some stuff that show this has got some nasty chemicals in it, and they're blowing all the way across Africa. Now, here's his throat. These are scales. You see, this is the jowls right here. And then it snugs up to his throat, right here. See a plate, 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 plate. They have little hinges in them so he can articulate his neck and do all the things he has to do. You know, dragons have to do that kind of stuff. Now, this is his actual throat. You see that? You're going to try to tell me that that's just accidental runoff. No, it's not. All of this is from dragon architecture of the throat. It caved in, apparently. So let's start from the big beginning again, now that you see what you have for the throat. This right here, that is all just bloody runoff. You see if we come in close to it? It's just like slurpy sort of stuff that runs off. And that's what happens when something dies. All of the fluids run out of it. And that's all the fluids running all over here. Now, so here's his head, all the way down to his throat being cut right here. See that red and the black? This is not like this back here. Back here is just all fluid. Here is literally blood. Red blood and black is the vein and artery. And that's why this is actually red blood running off into the desert still. And that's what makes all this stuff grow very green, because there's red blood. All right, the more red blood you put on something, the faster it'll grow. So now we know we have a dragon here that runs the entire top end of Africa, all the way from here, all the way across to here. And the tail is right here. You can see the dragon scales. And you can see his organs. You can see where he poops, everything else. And this is more of his dragon scaled tail right here. This is where it's like scooped down here. It's a lower, and the fluids have run down in here, and they're just running out of his tail. These are transition metals from blood. And it flares out at the end to these feathered tips. All right, there's some kind of feathery tips. And feathers also make things grow very green. You see? So these are the feather tips at the end. Now, can I show you something recorded in history about this? Yes, I can. And here it is right here. All right, this is a map from 1375. And I don't have access to any, I can't get you this. All right, somebody, I don't know, I even remember how I got it. But this is the Red Sea. This is the Mediterranean. This is the Straits of Gibraltar. And here's our dragon right here. There's the dragon. Runs all the way across North Africa to his flared tail way over here. All the way across North Africa. And guess what? His throat was also cut. You see that? They knew that his throat was cut. And this guy here, I think, controlled the whole world. I think his name was Mustafa or something like that. And can you imagine putting this together at that point in time? And there's all these focal points. You see where, I don't know whether they're trading out of this area, or I really don't know what to make of this. I obviously can't read it. And but there were dragons, and I think this is another area where there were some dragons, and over here are some dragons. I think those were the scales of different types of dragons. But this one, I can pretty much guarantee you, what we see here is Typhon. They knew he was here. Now look at this. Where do you see this? These are the mineral dusts blowing off. Look at Africa. This is where it's coming out of, where his toxic stuff, that's mineral dust blowing off of there. What it is, I don't know, but it's nasty. Well, it was nasty when he spit it out. I don't know what it's like now. This is Australia. And they have all the opals down there. So that's where it's something got to do with the red blood, because red is the blood. Now this is some noxious stuff, and these are the green chemicals, and I showed that right here. You see, this is the green chemicals coming right out of his throat. This is all basically green and nasty stuff. And that's what's blowing across the desert now. This is no joke. This is real stuff. And he was trying to kill this fish down here, this gigantic fish. And he said when Typhon was trying to attack the gods, and the gods turned themselves into animals, and this fish did not survive. It got hit by his toxins all around here. Now, you see what running off of his head? Here's Typhon. Now remember, we're talking about things that are so small you couldn't even hardly make them fit on this map. From here to here, well, let's just take a look. All right, just the top of his head here is 60 miles, 56 miles. All right, 60 miles, let's say. Just the top of his head. How big are these little tiny things? The little bitty things are like, he wouldn't even know it was on his nose. He wouldn't even know it's 0.73 miles is a dot on his nose. So he's, you know, when you take this into consideration, his whole length, it's 1,200 miles, I think I calculated it out. Yeah, 1,202 miles. He would have things living on him. There's no idea they'd be living on him. Now, where did they go? Well, most of them, the ones that were in the bloodstream and so forth, because he had a lot of parasites living in his body, you know, same as we do. And they flowed out here into the ocean through the bodily fluids and became the sea serpents that attacked the fish and everything. I mean, all the boats and all that stuff. So they had to try to make a living out here somehow. And then they just attacked all the boats and everything. They were here for a long time. And then as this age of exploration came about, the boats went out there. When the boats went out there, they had sightings from everywhere in the world. There was no question. They saw the same things here and there and other places. And they tried to kill them all. And I guess they were successful. You don't see them around a lot anymore. I don't think they have too much to go on here. They say 2 discoveries made by the team conducting the field work were the fossilized remains of a plasodont osteoderm and a single coalescent gular bone. Well, that's not a whole lot to go on. Okay, this is one of their big discoveries, is a footprint in Triassic rock of a dinosaur, apparently. I don't think this is very big. They don't give any measurements. Let me show you a human footprint in the same type of rock. You see this? This is a foot that I have here from a no-toe, and it almost fits in here pretty good. But this is a footprint of a human footprint pushed down through gray clay into the red bed, and then the black cap fell down on top. So when I found this was completely surrounded by red bed. This is the red mud bed. Then on top of that was gray clay. Well, this guy stepped on the gray clay and it was wet because his foot molded into this and pushed it through here at the same time. And then after that, all the black stuff fell down and filled it in almost immediately because there was no erosion to that whatsoever to speak of. All right, this is the way I found it. Like this. And this is gray clay right there, pushed down through this red bed. Now I'm going to put this to the side. The gray clay was supposed to be on top of all the red bed. However, this guy stepped on that gray clay. There's the balls of his feet and everything. You can see the exact perfect structure of his foot. And it pushed that gray clay, you see it? Down through the red bed. See the red bed right there? See how red that is? That's supposed to be above this gray clay. But this guy stepped on it and pushed it down through the red bed. Now, he hit right here with his heel and stepped on this way. All right? Now, this was the heel. This is what I call suck-ups, these little dimples, these little dimply looking things. And that's because when he hit, it went just like that. It was wet. And this was obviously wet at the same time because he pushed it down through. So the Triassic event happened all basically on the same day. Very close. There's that gray clay down below the red bed, what it should have been red bed. All right, so red bed, gray clay above, black cap on top. And the black cap came up on top. So the black cap is fine. It's just these two were wet at the same time. And that had to come real quick because this is, these little dimply looking things. I'm going to come in real close here. Hold on. All right, you see those little dimply looking things? I don't know if you can see them or not, but they are, I call them suck-ups. And what happened was when the guy came running through here, and he hit here and he went forward. You see how perfect this is? This is amazing. Look, it almost, it's flawless. Oh, shit. Okay, this is their big discovery, is this footprint in Triassic rock. Well, I don't think this is a very big footprint, but it looks like some kind of a lizard, or it could be dinosaur, whatever it is. I have this here. This is human. That's human right there. There's the balls of the guy's feet. All right, and he hit with his ankle at the bottom. Right here, bang, like this, and forward, and it looks to me like he was running. And this is like these little suck-ups. And this is a gray clay, which is on top, but it's pushed down through the red bed. See the red bed? And the gray clay came right through the bottom. You see the red bed here? That's what it's supposed to be, is the red bed at the bottom, the gray clay above that. But this guy stepped on the gray clay and pushed it down through the red bed. So that means they both had to be 100%, no question whatsoever, they were wet at the same time. The red bed had to be, no question whatsoever, it was wet because this got pushed down through this. And then the black cap came right on top of that. And I have that too. And it fits exactly perfectly into this guy's footprint. And I even have a foot that's here. As a matter of fact, I can grab it. Right here. Oh, I'm going to put my speaker back on here. This is just about the right size to fit into that. And it's a no-toe. The toes are built right into them, but it does have a fibula, this right here, that round bone sits there in that cradle, and then the fibula sits on the side. There's two bones. These are the front, and it is all strapped together. It's amazing. It even looks like it has a soul built into it, but it is built in, whatever it is. Was it a soul or not, I don't know. But these are notos. So I have so much stuff here to examine, and it's not accepted because it changes everything that they've been teaching you. Literally everything. Our history is totally not what we were taught, and virtually everything else. Geology, archaeology, anthropology, even biology is changed because of mud fossils. Everything's changed. So I think it's time we have to take a little closer look at it, that's all. Okay, I showed you Typhon, how big he is. This apparently was a dragon that was not gigantic, because George slayed him, they say. Now, he was supposed to have died in 303 AD. Now, this is the story of St. George, was right here. All right, George and the Dragon. It's the earliest known record of legend of St. George and the Dragon occurs they started writing it down in the 11th century. Who knows if this is true or not, but St. George was supposed to be a soldier in the Roman army, I guess. And the tradition tells that a fierce dragon was causing panic at the city of Cyllene in Libya at the time George arrived there. In order to prevent the dragon from devastating people from the city, they gave 2 sheep each day to the dragon, but when the sheep were not enough, they were forced to sacrifice humans, elected by the city's own people instead of the 2 sheep. So instead they had to elect somebody, and instead of the 2 sheep. Eventually, the king's daughter was chosen to be sacrificed. No one was willing to take her place. George saved the girl by slaying the dragon with a lance. The king was so grateful he offered him treasures as a reward for saving the daughter's life, but George refused. Instead, he gave these treasures to the poor, apparently. The people of the city were so amazed at what they had witnessed, they became Christians and were all baptized. So apparently it was after Christianity, 303 AD, he's slaying a dragon. Is that true? I don't know. But, the dragons I'm talking about, like Typhon in the desert, obviously a person's not going to slay that thing. But after that, they might have been who knows how big. All right, here's that extremely cool map, and this is Typhon, runs all the way across North Africa. They knew in 1375, and I can't get you a copy of this, I don't know where it came from. It's called Atlas Catalan Abraham Cresque. That's what I have titled. I got it a long time ago, I forget where I got it from. Anyway, this is Typhon. There's this dragon-scaled body, runs all the way across North Africa. Exactly where he is on the map, and his throat is cut exactly as it is in reality. And he was written about in Apollodorus in the ancient texts. He was Typhon. So these things are not silly. I know people say, "Oh, these guys got to be crazy." No, I'm not. This is our ancient history, and we need to look into it deeply. To just ignore it because it just seems too outrageous, I agree, without any evidence, yes, why would you bother? But with the evidence that I'm showing, it's a silly person is the kind of person that couldn't care less about this reality. That's how I see people that, don't look at that, that's silly. No. You're the one that's silly if you won't look at it. And that's what we have is in our education system. And it's because they control that system now. And to see this stuff puts a little bit of a taint on what they're selling you, literally selling you now. And, they're selling defective product. They're fiduciary failures at this point. I hate to keep coming back to this, but until we address that issue, we're never going to get reality. We're never going to get truth. We're never going to understand our ancient past. We're never going to understand anthropology, archaeology, history, religion, geology, everything. Until we can address this, we are completely lost.